And we are back on Capitol Tonight. Today, thousands of parents and students and charter school supporters were rallying at the state capitol. They came mostly from downstate, although there were people from all over New York as well. The rally came under scrutiny and criticism, specifically from New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, for taking place at the same time as what he said was a long-planned pre-kindergarten rally. My next guest says that the charter rally was not meant to be a distraction or a competition. Joining me now to talk more about this is Eva Moskowitz. She is the head of Success Academy Charter Schools. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, first of all, you had thousands of people, right? From New York City. They were all from your schools?
No. There were 110 charter schools from all over, downstate, upstate, participating. The Coalition for Education Equality organized it, but Success Academies participated.
In your mind, was this well, we spoke to a number of people who said, well, this was just generally a rally to have charter schools receive equitable treatment in the eyes of the state, but also you have sort of a special case because you're at odds with the mayor of New York City. So in your mind, was this a response to a decision that he made last week specifically?
No, actually, the rally was planned before the news. We are feeling very much under attack in New York City. And so, but really across the state, charters have not been given facilities fundings. Whether you're in Buffalo or the South Bronx, there's a facilities problem here. But we're under attack in New York City. And so, we've been thinking about how do we stand up for parents and kids. The legislative season, as you know, is going to come to a close
soon.
And so I think people are imagining conspiracies where we're just trying to find a day that would make sense for kids and families. It's really hard for families to take a day off work and to manage this. The organizer of this Families for Excellent Schools chose the date, and we all participated.
But you, in the case of your charters, you actually closed schools for the day.
We took our schools on the road, that's correct. We had what is the biggest civic field trip in history. We also taught on the buses. We had special curriculum. We made it K-8, and the media was on the bus and they saw the teaching going on. It was a robust several hours of teaching.
So certainly Omni is in a unique classroom. The attack that you're speaking of in particular has to do with something that's known as co-location. I believe it's specific to New York City. So charters are having difficulty finding facilities, as you mentioned, all across the state. But in New York City, there's this process by which regular public schools share space with charter schools, which are also publicly funded.
Right, but just so you understand, the vast majority of co-locations are districts. So there are 825 co-located district schools. And yet, the only time there's opposition is when public charters co-locate with districts, even though they only represent about 125 of the co-locations.
So when you mean there are regular public schools that are co-locate with other regular public schools?
The vast majority of co-locations have nothing to do with public charter schools.
So when the mayor last week made a decision specifically to reverse co-locations, which requires 3 of your schools to close. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why?
You got to ask him. It's unfathomable. It's really, and it's unconscionable, frankly. I don't understand when we have so many schools that need help and support, why the mayor of the city of New York would spend his time and energy trying to shut down the highest performing school in math in 5th grade in the entire state of New York.
And that's in Harlem?
It's in Harlem.
Which is a predominantly low-income and I would assume black and minority school student body.
Absolutely.
The decision that Mayor de Blasio made, it's not reversible. You can't challenge it in any city process, but are you going to be challenging it legally?
We're considering all our options. We're not going to have those kids educationally homeless. We're not going to throw them out on the street and say, find your own way to fulfill your dreams, we're going to find a way to educate those kids. And if we have to educate them in Central Park or on the steps of City Hall, then that's what we will do.
It seems to me, though, that you have an ally in Governor Cuomo. I mean, did you know he was going to show up today?
We were delighted that we got word kind of at the last minute that he was going to speak, and it was really thrilling for our parents and families. We're so glad to have friends and supporters. We've just been under attack for months on end. I mean, the attack started during the campaign, and we had sort of hoped that often there's a difference between campaign rhetoric and governing, and once you settle in and have to collect the garbage and remove the snow and deal with all the problems, that you really don't have as much time for ideology and kind of grand statements, and you have to kind of get down to the business of governing and providing high quality services to the citizens. So we were hoping that, you know, once Mayor de Blasio got in office, that he would want a dialogue with the charter community and charter parents, and that has not been the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, have you spoken to him? I mean, he's spoken to some members of the charter community. It seems that some of this is personal with you. He seems to have a specific problem with you. Did you serve on the council together? I know you're a former councilwoman.
We did, and he served on my committee. I was chairwoman of the education committee. He seems like a very nice man. I don't have anything personal against him, and I assume he doesn't of me, although he has made kind of, you know, aggressive statements. And I would just say it's time to put the rhetoric aside. If he has some personal beef, children should not suffer the consequences of whatever his feelings are.
The governor was very strong today in saying that he was with you. It sounded like to me that he would protect the charter schools. Did you get a chance to talk to him personally, and have you spoken to Dean Skelos at all from the Senate Republicans?
I have not gotten a chance. I did not get a chance to talk to the governor. We were, you know, trying to. It's a lot of work to kind of organize something like this. But my hope is that I will in the very near future. We are very appreciative of all the elected officials that came. Kareem Kamara has been very, very supportive, and we're incredibly appreciative. You know, I don't know Albany. I know city government reasonably well. But we need to get to know Albany because we need the leadership of state government. We're going to really need help to protect parents' right to a free, great public education.
Do you think that this is about charter schools? What happened today, that there were these dueling rallies, right, with this one pro-pre-K rally that de Blasio headlined at the Armory, and then this other that at the last minute the governor decided to show up at. And also I know that IDC leader Klein was there, and Dean Skelos, of course, is, Klein attended the de Blasio rally. It's hard to remember who was where at this point. A lot of political theater is the point that I'm trying to make. Do you think it was about charters, or was it about something else, something bigger, that this fight that's going on about pre-kindergarten between de Blasio and the governor?
You know, both as the mother of 3 children and a public school parent myself, and as an advocate for great educational policies, I support pre-K. I have supported pre-K for a very, very long time. I think most people do. But after kids are done with being 4, they become 5. And so to separate out the educational experience, it's one continuum. At Success Academies, we educate kids from kindergarten through 12th grade. We would love to be able to educate them from the age of 3 through 12th grade. So I just think there's a whole bunch of politics, and I don't claim to understand the positioning or the ins and outs. We have a laser-like focus on great teaching and learning and providing opportunities for our most disadvantaged. So I don't understand that part of it and how it all works. I do know that we have an incredible educational crisis in the city, in the state, in this country. And if we don't find new pathways to provide educational opportunities for kids and families, it's going to be a disaster. One could argue it already is a disaster. In New York City, 85% of African American children did not pass their tests. And so why are we arguing about positioning and all of this? I think we really need to come together and figure out educational public policies that are going to work for all kids all the time, not just when they're 3, not just when they're 4, but for their entire education.
Before I let you go, to what degree do you believe that the high percentage of children that weren't able to pass had to do with Common Core?
Well, I don't think Common Core is a cause of poor performance. We've had problems with poor performance in the city of New York and the state of New York before Common Core. So I think blaming Common Core is a little bit silly. Common Core is a standard. It's not a curriculum. It is a bar. And it is a bar, frankly, that is very, very appropriate if we are going to compete internationally. I don't hear China or India complaining about the bar. So we're going to have to find a way, and of course that means better teacher training. Of course it means more time on task. I would argue it also means art, music, and dance. The notion that you can have high academic performance without making schools magical communities where kids fall in love with schooling, I think is frankly wrong. Our high performance at Success Academies does not only not come at the expense of art, music, and dance, I would argue it's because of our investment in so-called extracurriculars, whether they be chess or robotics or debate, that leads to the great academic success that we have had.
Well, it's obviously an ongoing debate, and we're going to be following it. I thank you very much, Eva Moskowitz, for being here.
Thanks for having me.